Hi, Gil from Testing Gil here. One of the things I get asked a lot for are recommendations for moving from one framework to another. Especially when you invested time in one framework and then you want to move to another one, becomes, let's say, a bit risky. Not to mention expensive. Obviously, it has other benefits. Otherwise, you wouldn't consider it. Most of the time, starting using a new framework is a slow and methodical process. And if you're moving not just from a framework, but from a whole infrastructure to another one, it usually requires a hybrid solution. You stay with the old test and infrastructure and start using the new framework for new tests. Then you move incrementally to developing the new infrastructure. So far, I've recommended this path because it's the safest. Touching lots of moving pieces is very risky. But now we have a genie who can change many pieces of code with a lot of confidence. So the question is, can we use AI to translate the test that we have and the infrastructure that we have to the new one? Potentially, yes. But in practice, we have to do a lot of things to help this process along. Here's an example. In our Bigger Better bookstore, we have a Selenium test for our login page. It uses Python's unit test as a test framework. Now, let's say we want to use PyTest, another framework in Python, instead. So we ask, can you change this to use PyTest? And a few seconds later, we get this translation. Now, this is a very small example, but it already shows why I wouldn't ask the Genie to do this for all the tests at once. Since I didn't give it any specific instructions, all it did is just change a few lines. And it's already different than how I would write this test from scratch using PyTest. This feeling is not going to go away, unless you step in and take the keyboard. For example, if I had written it from scratch and I would know where I'm going, I would probably use PyTest fixtures. I'd put the common code in one place, and all the next tests are going to use this fixture. Of course, I can ask the Genie to do that for me. Create a fixture and put the common code in there. And I'd get this, which I can live with for now. Note that these small steps allowed me to look at the changes and approve them. But if I've done these changes across my code base, I may not see all the changes and I may not notice any major impact, which may be disastrous. Okay, let's take it a step further. Let's transfer our Selenium code to Playwright, moving from one framework to another. This is not only quick, it's pretty safe because it only made a few changes. But let's see if it runs. And it works! But not always. I may need to help it a bit. And I need to review the code and make sure that no new code is sprung to life. Again, small steps keep me in control. And we can continue to do this test by test. But that's not the only way to translate tests. Let's get back to our PyTest framework with Selenium test. Let's say we're using the page object model in our infrastructure, but our test doesn't. So let's ask our AI Padawan to do this for us. Use the page object model. And it works. And, as almost always, it's not exactly as I would have written it. That includes names and interfaces and interactions. And I have a choice. I can step in or leave it like that, or give the AI more instructions on how to do this for me. But let's stay with what we have. Now the Selenium code is inside our page object. Let's look at the test. We don't have any Selenium code in it. It's basically framework agnostic, which is the cool thing about abstraction. If we're making changes, they will apply to only the page object, not the test itself. That makes changes easier and safer. And not just for us, also for the Genie. Now that we have the page object, let's ask it to translate from Selenium to Playwright. And it works! With the provision that I wouldn't write it like that. But again, I can modify it with or without the Genie. So, if my whole infrastructure was based on page objects, it would be easier and safer to translate. Probably. The nice thing is that we have tests. We can run them again and see if they still work. At least we'll get feedback. Which gets us back to my main point. Technically, you can do mass translation. But if you want to have a working translated infrastructure, you need to take small steps. Change a couple of things, see if they work, then move on. Exactly as if you would do it yourself. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, like, subscribe, share it, and watch other videos on this channel. And in the comments, tell me how you've translated a lot of things and what got lost in translations. Until next time, bye-bye.